You have likely been lied to. You've been told that to truly master your anger, you must suppress it, medicate it, or simply wish it away. I stand before you now to offer a counterintuitive truth, a claim testable in the laboratory of your own life. You do not manage anger. You starve the conditions that feed it. This ancient path, honed by kings, slaves, and merchants alike, offers not a promise to suppress the flame, but the blueprint to build an emotional fortress so strong that the fire cannot even reach the walls. By the time this dialogue is finished, you will possess the mental architecture to transform insults into irrelevance and chaos into a crucible for your own growth. This journey begins not with a loud declaration, but with a quiet, crucial separation, a philosophical partitioning of the world into two definitive columns. And it is in that precise moment of separation that true inner freedom begins. I must offer a caution right at the threshold. The philosophy we explore is a demanding educational path, an intellectual discipline for self-mastery, not a quick-fix medical cure, a substitute for professional counsel or legal advice. If your anger is chronic, destructive, or overwhelming, please seek out qualified sources. What we discuss here is the domain of personal reflection and ethical training, a forge for the soul, and you must apply its lessons thoughtfully and only after careful, individualized consideration. Our first task is to correct a profound modern misunderstanding. To many, Stoic means emotionally numb, cold, or uncaring. This is a vulgar simplification. The ancient Stoics were not seeking to abolish feeling. They were seeking to abolish unreasoned, destructive feeling, especially the passions they termed the pathe: anger, fear, excessive desire, and debilitating distress. These were seen as not just unpleasant, but as profound errors in judgment, movements of the soul against the wisdom of nature. The goal wasn't a vacant stare, but a state called apatheia, which meant clarity, peace, and soundness of judgment, a mind that perceives the world accurately, unclouded by reactive turmoil. The master key to this state is simple, yet staggeringly difficult to apply consistently: the dichotomy of control. Imagine the whole universe, all events, words, and circumstances laid out before you. Now, take a philosophical knife and divide them. On one side are the externals, the opinions of others, the weather, your reputation, the market's collapse, and critically, the actions and words of every single person other than yourself. These things, the Stoics declared, are ultimately not up to you. On the other side is the internal. Your judgments, your impulses, your values, your intentions, and your responses, these things, and these alone, are up to you. Most human frustration, anxiety, and yes, anger flows from a single source: the tragic but predictable attempt to exert control over the externals. We rage because the universe refuses to conform to our expectations of how others should behave. The moment you truly internalize this, that other people are not instruments in your personal orchestra, the moment you stop trying to arrange their notes, you take the first definitive step toward inner peace. You are reclaiming your sovereignty, moving your focus from the world you cannot govern to the one you absolutely can: your own mind. This is not fatalism. It is the ultimate assertion of agency. Consider the cautionary tale of a former colleague I knew, whom we shall call Victor. Victor was a man of immense talent in his industry, but he was perpetually on edge. His entire sense of self was anchored in how his work was perceived by his immediate superior. If his boss, a highly demanding and often ill-tempered man, offered praise, Victor was elated for the day. If the boss was curt, dismissive, or offered a sharp, unfair critique, Victor would spiral. He internalized every external judgment as a reflection of his soul's worth. He would rage silently in his office, his focus shattered, replaying the perceived insult 100 times. This wasn't just unpleasant, it was a preventable downfall. His rage poisoned his attention, making him less effective. He was trying to control the uncontrollable, his boss's unstable mood, and in doing so, he surrendered the controllable, his power of choice, proheresis, over his own output and his own mental state. He became the victim of a borrowed mood, a man of power who was paradoxically a slave to another's opinion. The external event, the harsh word, was a mere sound wave, Victor's judgment of that event. This means I am worthless was the poison he willingly drank. The ancient philosopher Marcus Aurelius had to face this same daily onslaught of irrationality, but on the scale of an empire. He armed himself not with guards, but with a mental shield. He reminded himself daily, when someone acts rudely, unfairly, or selfishly, it is not about you. Their outburst is a symptom of their own broken framework, their own ignorance of what is truly good, or their own pain. Think of it this way: their anger is like an errant stone flung from their own personal storm. When you intercept that stone with your own mind, you are choosing to absorb the momentum and the damage. But if you see it for what it is, an external object with a foreign trajectory, it merely flies past, and you remain untouched. It's an act of deep psychological self-preservation. You cease to be a participant in their momentary madness and become, instead, a calm, non-judgmental observer. This is where we introduce the most crucial tactical weapon in the Stoic arsenal: the pause. The chasm between the external stimulus and your internal response is the only place where true freedom resides. When provoked, when that comment hits, when that driver cuts you off, when that betrayal lands, your primitive mind wants to close that gap instantly, to react with reflexive fury. But the trained mind, the disciplined will, inserts a breath, a moment of silence. Seneca called anger a temporary madness. And who among us has not looked back on a moment of rage with immediate regret? The fury feels powerful, a rush of energy, but what does it actually solve? Ask the critical, self-examining question: will this emotion improve the situation, or will it merely worsen my internal state? The mere act of asking this question breaks the chain of automatic reaction. It allows your rational faculty, your true self, to step forward and choose your response, rather than letting the reaction choose you. This is the difference between being a slave to your instincts and being a sovereign of your mind. The transition from Victor's downfall to genuine mastery is often marked by a delayed awakening, a moment when the cost of uncontrolled reaction finally exceeds the fleeting satisfaction of being right. I recall the story of a young entrepreneur, Lydia, who had poured 5 years of her life into a small, innovative company. A former business partner publicly smeared her reputation on social media using distorted facts. Lydia's initial impulse was pure fire. She drafted a multi-page, furious rebuttal ready to torch the relationship and the shared industry credibility they once had. She wanted vengeance. She wanted to be demonstrably right. But something stopped her, an exhaustion, a clear sight of the path she was about to choose. That path wasn't resolution, it was a self-inflicted wound. She paused for an entire 72 hours. In that time, she realized her desire for immediate vindication stemmed from a bruised ego, a deep fear of being fundamentally disrespected. That ego, she recognized, was not her friend. It was the weakest link in her armor. Her true value was in the integrity of her business and the quality of her product, not in the fluctuating opinions of a disgruntled former colleague. Lydia's hard-won lesson was this: you must choose peace over pride. When you operate from your values, your integrity, your work ethic, your commitment to being fair, the insults of others lose their power, their gravity. They become weightless. Marcus Aurelius warned us not to let our minds become a slave to others' opinions. In those 72 hours, Lydia did not suppress the feeling, she simply refused to act on it. She reread the draft, saw the emotional vulnerability it revealed, and deleted it all. She posted a single professional statement focusing only on her future work, effectively starving the former partner of the conflict he craved. The incident still stung, but she closed the loop on the situation with a credible transformation. She decided to use the incident as a litmus test for every future reaction, asking, does this action serve my highest value, peaceful progress, or my lowest impulse, prideful retaliation? This is the essence of emotional detachment. Not coldness, but the acceptance that you cannot control the narrative others choose to write about you. You can only control the actions that prove it false. To sustain this mindset, the Stoics tell us we must train the mind. Like an athlete trains the body, self-control is not a magical gift. It is a habitus developed through conscious daily effort. The philosophy itself becomes a kind of architecture, chacha for the soul. The ancient practitioners began their day not with optimistic fantasies, but with premeditation of evils, praemeditatio malorum. They would calmly consider the difficulties they might face. Today, I will meet an ungrateful man, a rude man, a dishonest man. This wasn't cynicism. It was the mental scaffolding us of resilience. By anticipating the chaos, they ensured they would never be surprised or shaken by it. When the inevitable irritation arrived, the poor service, the harsh email, it wasn't a shock to their system, but merely a predictable event, a scheduled drill in their training regimen. Every small irritation becomes a miniature forge where you temper your will. Each time you resist the urge to snap back, you are quite literally rewiring your brain toward calm. We also must acknowledge the pervasive influence of time and impermanence. The Stoics viewed life as a flowing river, constantly in motion. Whatever enrages you now, that email, that argument, that delay, is simply flux. It will not stay. If you can step back and adopt the perspective of an eternal observer, you realize that your current discomfort is temporary. Ask yourself the second most important question. If this will not matter in a week, a month, or a year, is it worth sacrificing my serenity today? In nearly every case, the answer is a resounding no. This perspective gives you the necessary emotional space to let go. Before as you explode, turning your inner fortress into a ship in the storm. Aware of the turbulence, but fundamentally untouched by it. To make this practice truly seamless, you must use every provocation as a personal challenge, a test of your inner mastery. See the insult not as an attack, but as a gift, a perfect opportunity provided by the universe to reinforce your commitment to virtue and peace. Can you respond with grace instead of fire? Can you make calm your new definition of strength? And here, let me explicitly return to the quiet, crucial separation I spoke of in the beginning, the open loop we must now close. The moment of separation is not just between internal and external. It is also a choice between the event itself and your judgment of the event. The most powerful phrase you can repeat in that moment of crisis is this: the event is neutral. My interpretation gives it meaning. Repeat that to yourself. The event is neutral. My interpretation gives it meaning. It reminds you that the power to be angry does not lie with the external world. It rests solely with your conscious interpretive will. So, what is the next step? The key takeaway is simple and portable. Anger is optional. Peace is a practice. You're not commanded to feel nothing, but you are urged to feel rightly. Begin each day by setting the intention to encounter irrationality without adopting it. When conflict arises, apply the pause. Ask the two critical questions. Will this improve the situation? Will this matter in a year? And anchor yourself to your highest values, not your bruised pride. This is how you stop managing the fire of anger and begin to build the fortress task of the tranquil mind. This philosophy doesn't end with conquering anger, it begins there. The next chapter, the natural progression, is to apply this same surgical clarity and disciplined intensity to the mastery of time. Learning to structure your days with the same strategic focus you now apply to your reactions, transforming your minutes into a disciplined expression of your philosophy. This is the enduring work of a true student of the Stoic path.